Martin, here we are. All of a sudden, it's upon them, and now is the acid test, isn't it? This is the big one. This is the big one. But yet, just seems hours ago, but it was a couple of days ago. A late fight back against Southampton saw them salvage a point, but are they doing enough to salvage their title hopes? Because they've been in the driving seat for so long. All of a sudden, they're going into reverse. Or are they?
Well, Jim, I've always been very cautious, and I was saying so from a long time back because of the quality of this City team and their ability to go over the distance on many occasions. 4 of the last 5 Premier Leagues. It's full of champions. It's full of people who've been in this area before. I think it's been tricky for Arsenal. There's been a kind of repeat behaviour away from home to go in front and then be pulled back. And then, obviously, the other night, it was a near disaster. You concede early on. Is that the pressure? I mean, I think you've got to... I'm looking at one or two things, Jim. Of course, the lack of experience. I will not knock the team because I think they've been absolutely magnificent to go from where they were in the table last year to where they are now. The number of points, the successive wins, the 10 games without unbeaten, Jim, since the last time they played City. But this is now the hour of need where you've got to go now and win that game. It would have been easier if you could have won those 2 away games at West Ham and Liverpool. So you had a little bit of a cushion, but that's gone. City know now that they win their 2 games in hand, they can be champions, clear champions. So they've got to go there and upset the odds. But they are capable, Jim, of doing that. When they played against City in the FA Cup, I thought they did pretty well. City, 35% possession. So Arsenal have the means, the ability to do it. But Saliba is being a player that Arsenal have been without. And you can say it's not about one player, but I think this guy doesn't get anywhere near enough credit for his pace, his power, his aggression, the stature he has. And he's not been available. And while he's been out of the team, it's been more difficult. Balls into the channel, the team playing a little bit deeper. So that will be a big miss. I don't know if he's available, Jim, but this is going to be it's a cup final.
It's probably not available. But you've been in this position before, Martin. You know what it's like. You know what it's like in the run-in.
To play your rivals, yeah.
So here we go. They're on the run-in. You're playing your rivals. In your case, it was Manchester United, no doubt. In this instance, it's Manchester City. You know what it's like, but the cracks are there, aren't they?
I don't know if they're cracks, Jim. I think it's because I've tried to explain to you that I think that 1 or 2 players have been missing. I think when they took the foot off the gas.
Is this current group of players good enough to go all the way and win it?
I don't know if the squad is. I think that the 11 that's on the pitch is, and I think that's where they've suffered. Tomiyasu as well has been another player being injured. This is a difficult time, Jim. It doesn't matter what's happened up to this point. It's what you do from now on.
Yeah. And what you do is you don't choke.
No, you don't choke. You've got to love it. You've got to go in there and you've got to... It's a young group. It's the youngest team in the Premier League. But you can't look at the quality. You have to make sure you wrap up Haaland. You've got to go in and go after them, go after your opponent, and go in there with that belief you can win it, Jim. But of course, it's looking more difficult every day from an Arsenal point of view, but I think it was massive that they didn't lose. To say we didn't lose against Southampton, we should be coming into this game now far more positive than we are.
Well, that's it.
But nonetheless, it's here, Jim.
Do you identify with what Wayne Rooney is saying in his column in The Times? Recently, I heard Gary Neville say that if, at the start of the season, you offered Arsenal the scenario of win 1 game at City and you'll be favourites to win the league, they'd have taken it. But Rooney says, but I think because of what's happened in the past few games, it won't feel like that. If they're not champions, they'll feel like they've thrown the title away.
Rooney knows because he's been down this path, and there's a feeling of disappointment that comes in, but you can't let it grab you around the throat, Jim. You've got to be able to override it.
So what's your approach on Wednesday?
One of positivity. You've got to love it. This is your moment. This is your moment, the whole season. Who's expecting Arsenal to win there? Who expected us to go to Old Trafford and win the league in 2002? Not many. It was the end of story once we managed that. So you've got to go, and at some point, Jim, if you really want to be champions, you really want to be meeting your main rivals and beating them. And that's what is in front of us.
There's a chance. Rooney says if they sit back and wait, do that against City, you'll die a slow death.
Yeah, we know that as well. They torture you punish you with their passes. But Arsenal will actually match them, Jim. It'll all be man for man all over the pitch. They're both playing with inverted fullbacks. Pep would have studied it. He would have seen before that Arsenal dominated possession. He won't be happy with that. He'll try and find another way. He'll try and imagine or dream up another version of his football. Because we have to say, Jim, he's been quite magnificent. Pep is a genius. He's the master. But can the pupil beat him? And I'm really intrigued to see if Arteta can overcome this. You're going into the lion's den here of football, aren't you? They pass you to death. But I think Arsenal have the ability to cause an upset.
Arteta spoke the other night. Of course he did, at the end of the game. So it looks as if they might lose it against Southampton, but they came away with a point. They could have won it, actually, in the last few minutes, but they didn't. This was Arteta post-match.
Me personally, what I've experienced there, not only with the players, with the staff and with our supporters, it was incredible, because I know how difficult it is. And after 1-0, you make a big mistake, you concede, and then you make another mistake, and 2-0. You are trying to just play against a team that is doing what they have to do as well, because where they are. And after the first time they go through the halfway line, they score the third one, and then it's a big question mark. What do you do as a team? What do you do as an individual? The response of the players, I cannot love them more, honestly. It's just a joy to coach them. It's just a joy to be part of this club and experience what I have experienced together with the team. And at the end, the magic moment was there to be taken. We had 2 big chances at 3-3 to score, but today it didn't happen, unfortunately, and that's why we are like that. We'll be very different with the same game.
That was Arteta post-match. I hear you muttering in the background.
I was muttering about what I just think is the over-egging of the love bit. Listen, they've got to be disappointed in themselves at this point where they've dropped points. I think the Liverpool game is explainable, because I think there's very few teams in the world that could live with Liverpool for that 60-minute period. And Liverpool got it for the first time this season. You saw Liverpool look like they were a couple of years ago, or a year ago, when they were going for the quadruple. But the West Ham and Southampton ones are a little bit unforgivable when you're running in for a title. The challenge for me on Wednesday was I wanted great jeopardy in this game, and they've handed it back to Man City. The difficulty is, in the game at the Emirates, Arsenal were defensively stronger than they are now, but they were offensively weaker. This time round, they were offensively stronger, but defensively weaker, because I think Martin's identifying of Saliba being a component part missing is a massive destabiliser for them. And I don't think Walcott gets the goal that he gets if Saliba's playing in the Arsenal back four. I think it's come at the wrong time. And what Arsenal can take from this, and Wayne Rooney's point of view is well balanced, but Gary Neville's was contextual. At the beginning of the season, if Arsenal were told at the beginning of this season what game against Man City to win the league, they'd have bitten it. He's right to say that. But Rooney's talking about the ultimate winning machine, which Gary Neville was, of course, a part of.
Yeah.
But what I think Arsenal will learn from this season is, if they don't win the Premier League, and if they've given it back to Man City by 2 silly results, Southampton and West Ham, not the Liverpool game, Southampton and West Ham games, if they don't win this league, what they know is they need a bigger and better squad, and what they'll have from their ownership model is perhaps an even further and deeper backing of Arsenal, because you've seen that when they've had circumstances when they've gone to the squad, I think Martin is absolutely right. 11 against 11, there's an argument that Arsenal would win this league. But when you've got to go deeper into your squad,
it's the squad that wins you it. Yeah.
It's the squad that wins you it.
I think, Martin, the thing is this. Say you hadn't watched the game, and of course you watched it on Friday night, but say you hadn't, and you called me up after 15 minutes, said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Walcott's just put Southampton 2-0 up."
Jim, it's interesting because
really?
Simon was sniggering, but look, Arteta, okay, what he's doing is he's explaining how it is from a player. You prepare for the match, you go out onto the pitch, and all of a sudden you don't want to be there. You're 1-0 down, you're 2-0 down. It's like, oh God, no one said it was going to be this difficult. Now the team never gave up. They never felt sorry for themselves.
You can't give up.
No. They never. Now because of that, there's a chance that Arsenal can do something special. And I think the manager realised that, he recognised it, but they're not making it easy for themselves. You have to minimise your mistakes. That's the first. You have to have the right players on the pitch. But it's an uphill struggle for Arsenal lately, and a lot of that's of their own making now. Got to minimise those mistakes. There can be no more mistakes. And we go after the opposition. That's what they'll have to do.
The thing is, they've conceded 7 in their last 3 games. Is there any way they go to the Etihad and they don't concede?
I think they probably do concede, but that doesn't mean they don't win, because both managers have the same philosophy. I think if Arsenal lose it, they'll lose it trying to win it.
And that's not a bad thing.
And it's not bad. That's the openness of these managers. Their philosophy is to go for the kill, to go and win. Not to entertain, but to go after teams. So I do feel it'd be an incredible... I mean, we're going to be there. I'm there with BT. It's the game of the season, Jim.
Yeah.
This is a cup final. Your
Arsenal
beloved Sky haven't got it this time. I'm not sure why. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll enjoy it.
I would like to...
talkSPORT have got it. I'll be there.
I would like to have gone into it.
I
would love to have gone into it, because I think it's the game of the season. And I think it's the game that will set the season up for a fantastic
finale. 0-0.
I doubt it, because I don't think those sides play out dull 0-0s too often. And maybe that's the curse of the observation. But I would have liked Arsenal to have gone in it not on the back of these 3 results, because they're disappointing, because they've taken away some of the jeopardy in this, because it looks now like City. And if they couldn't cope with Haaland And in the second half against City, they were outplayed and outclassed at the Emirates.
Yeah.
And that's when they were defensively better. Now they've lost a component part of that defence, which is obviously Saliba.
And I take nothing away from Holding as well, because I think at times he's done well in there. But what happens is the team has to play slightly deeper to allow for that loss of pace.
Yeah.
And then you can't then compress the play. You can't be on the halfway line in the same way Liverpool were when it was really clicking for them. You start to drift back, and then there's all manner of mistakes. It's much more difficult when you're not pressing.
They can
the
go.
opposition.
They can go and get a result. Because the way this league is structured at this moment in time and the outcomes that we've seen and changes, no one would have picked Liverpool to beat Man United 7-0. No one would pick some of these results that happened this season. And no one will pick Arsenal to win this game. But I tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
The fear
is
is
a draw a good result for Arsenal?
It means it's still alive. And I think actually from Pep's point of view, though, there was this part of the season when he was actually saying he's envious of Arsenal because they're fired up and there's a hunger. And maybe they're a little bit too complacent, but you can't be complacent when you're going after 3 trophies like they are.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.